Hey everybody, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Ready to Die Fighting. Today I'm going to be talking about another book I am reading. I'm almost finished with it, but not quite. And I'm doing a lot of episodes on books because, one, I'm reading them, and they are prepper and survival related. But also, I promised the boy that we were done prepping until the new year. And so I can't do a whole lot. I worked him pretty hard this summer and into the fall, and we were both ready for a break. And so I promised him we were done prepping until January. So only a couple more weeks before I can get back to work. And actually, he caught me. He caught me like organizing some gear and stuff, and he's like, "You promised, you promised." I'm like, "I know, I know, I know." Generally speaking, he does enjoy this stuff, but yeah, we both needed a break. A lot of cutting wood, a lot of farming and gardening, a lot of miles on the bikes, and so he earned that break. So, but I was looking through some stuff because don't tell, I got him some prepper related things for Christmas, and so I wanted to make sure that I had, everything was going to fit into his kit properly. And you might be able to figure out what I got him once I show you this book. This book is called Squiggly Lines by Mark. I don't know why I said Mac. Mark Latanzi. Latanzi? Not sure. And this is a cool book. Now, this is about how to use a map and compass, specifically with a focus on adventure racing and road gaining. Now, I didn't know what adventure racing really was when I got this book, but I was looking for books about maps and compasses. I like maps a lot. I keep maps in the car whenever I go on trips and stuff. I always get some maps of the areas that we go to. I like to plot our courses, things like that. I've never taken an actual orienteering course, but I've had compasses and maps for a while now, and it's something I kind of practice with here and there. And based on his Christmas present, I was like, you know what? I should brush up on my compass stuff because I haven't actually used it in a while, and so I thought I'd get this book. And I found it when I was just looking at different resources, and I forget which website I was on exactly, but I kind of stumbling down the rabbit hole, and I found adventure racing. What is that? Sounds cool. Adventure and racing. Maybe that's something we might want to do. And so I bought this book to learn more about it. And we are not going to do adventure racing. No way. Maybe that's something he can do when he's an adult. I don't think at this stage of my life, I think it's too intense for me. But I'll talk about it a little bit more as I'm talking about this book. So what I like about this book is one is it's kind of inexpensive. It does have a very much of a amateur feel to it. Like I can tell this isn't a this is a self-published book, but it's still a good book. I'm enjoying reading it. He includes a lot of maps in it and a lot of exercises, and he gives you the answers. He covers the parts of a compass and how they work. He covers a lot of different things, explaining how to read topographic maps, the different, I guess, the physical features that you can find, such as ridges and knobs and hills and mountains and what else do we have here? Valleys. He's got, charts like this so I'll show you. And so this is one of the exercise pages where he shows what the topographic feature looks like and then what the, I guess, the profile of the feature would look like. And then you got to match them up. And he'll ask you things like, you're at a certain point and how would you, what's the closest saddle to your location or something? That's different questions like that. He tells you how to read the contour lines. all the things that you would expect to find, but in a book about how to land navigate in the wild. But some of the things that he has extra that I like is that it is given with a slant for adventure racing, and so he includes stories of his adventure races and what it's like. And he's got, I would say, probably a solid chapter that's very specific to adventure racing and how you would set up your map specifically to that. I don't know that it applies to like your regular people, but it is still interesting. He talks about night navigating, navigating in fog, how to get unlost, sometimes techniques on picking the best route if you don't have a specific route in mind. So this was one of the exercises I was working on, I think, last night. I don't know how well you guys can see this, but here's a map of an area. And for whatever reason, this map, north is sideways instead of up. But he included it to show you, you always got to look because not all maps orient north to the up. And so there are, I think, 10 checkpoints on this map. And, based on all the things he's talked about, up until this point of the book, how would you choose a route? And so, I sat here just studying this map for I don't know how long and trying to understand the contour lines and trying to think like, and he was for a race, but like, what's the best way to hit all of these checkpoints? And he says in the races, sometimes all of the checkpoints are mandatory in order to complete the race, but other times they are optional. And so the more checkpoints you can get, I guess, like the more points or whatever you get, and you're better you're standing in the race. And so strategically, well, which checkpoints could you miss and still do well in this race? Is the distance that you have to travel worth the effort? So I don't know how well you guys can see this, but there's a checkpoint way over here that's like hidden. I think this is like an out of bounds area, maybe. I don't know why it's that color for sure. But so there's a checkpoint way over here. All the other checkpoints are in this area, and you start here. And there's a lot of contour lines. There's some rivers and some ponds or lakes. And so taking all this into account, you want to climb as little as possible. You don't want to be backtracking a whole lot. You don't want to go up and down. That's a lot of work. You want to stay dry as much as you can. What's the best route to hit as many of these checkpoints you can in a reasonable amount of time? And he said, there's no wrong answer here. It's just working through what you think is best. And then on the next page, he shows the route that one possible route. And I assume probably the route that he would take. And so it's a lot of fun. And the way it's written, like compasses and maps and navigation, it is kind of a dry topic. I think it's interesting, but even though I am interested in it, sometimes reading this stuff is kind of, it's just like a bunch of coordinates and all that, and it starts to get kind of, yeah. But his style of writing is very much, it feels very conversational. It feels very kind of just laid back, easy. It's almost like someone's just talking to you and explaining this stuff to you. And then sprinkling in these various stories of adventure races he's gone on, some of the problems he's had, things that they learned from them. It's a solid book. And I am enjoying reading it. Even the stuff that really doesn't apply to me. It's just interesting to read about. There is the only thing I don't like about it is that because he does cover so many different topics, I personally would like maybe more depth in some of them. For example, there was a section. Oh, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I really like this area. He did, I think, a great job of explaining the UTM coordinate system. And so I was vaguely aware of it before, like I knew the basic idea, but seeing it like this, so I live at 17T, seeing this, it's plotted out like this, and he dedicates quite a few pages to explaining how this system works, why it's divided and created the way that it is. And so that was really good to me. I liked understanding like the why and the how. Gives it a bit more sense. But there was one area in particular, I'm trying to remember, it was towards the beginning, where I felt like I wanted a little bit more information, or maybe a bit more exercises perhaps to practice it and really get the idea of it. You know what? I think it was declination. He did talk about it quite a bit, but that's what it was. It was declination. He explained what declination means. However, so when you're using your map, let me see. I'm going to try not to try to explain it. I want to create a separate video about navigation, but there was just a section in here that I felt like needed more depth, and it was more not so much explaining what declination is, but why he chooses to use a compass that doesn't have a adjustable declination. And so he prefers to do the math on the fly. And so I would have preferred a little bit more discussion about why he chooses that and the advantages and disadvantages of each, and maybe some examples, real life examples of how that works. But that's something that you could probably, it sounds like it's preference, and you probably just have to get out in the field and figure out which one you want to do. But that was just one area where I felt like I would have wanted more information. And I'm sure other people, as you're reading through this, you might find other areas that you want more information. So, because some of the stuff, like, so he talks about point features, and it's only a couple paragraphs, and then linear features, and it's, just a few more paragraphs again. But at the same time, it is a pretty simple idea. So you probably don't need much more than that. But it covers a lot of information. And so he has, let's see, when you get to chapter 4, Adventure Racing Navigation, this is where he really goes into, so he gives a story of the 2011 Australia XPD. I'm guessing that's Expedition Adventure Race? XPD? I don't know. But these are like professional athletes. They're sponsored by various companies like Adventure Medical. I think it's Adventure Medical, whatever. Thule, whatever. Columbia, Red Bull. And so he kind of talks about like each day. It's a multi-day race depending on the specific event. So this one he talks about, it's 7 days it took them to complete this race. And you have to navigate to these different points. You're biking, you're hiking, you're paddling. Sometimes it's a packable raft, sometimes it's a kayak, sometimes it's a canoe, sometimes you do all three. Ari, be quiet. They have little navigation courses that, like, you have to find specific checkpoints within this navigational race. This particular race, day one, they had a shooting event. So they had to, he didn't say what the shooting course was exactly, but they had to go on a trek by foot and complete some kind of shooting course. They do, what do you call it? Like rock climbing, with the abseiling and descending and climbing and all that. It's a combination of all these things. And you're camping wherever you are. You have to navigate yourself. You could potentially get lost. And they are going on minimal sleep. Sometimes as little as no hours sleep. I started watching some YouTube videos of various races. And one team, they went, I think, 4 days without any sleep at all because they got behind in the beginning. They weren't a strong paddling team. I think they said they were good on bikes, they were good hiking, but this particular race had a lot of paddling in it, and something was wrong with their boat. And they're just not particularly strong paddlers anyway. And so they got really far behind, and so to catch up, they decided just not to sleep. And I think they slept like, I think they slept maybe 7 hours over the course of like a week trying to complete this race. And they do them all over the world. Some of these beautiful, gorgeous places, these remote areas, remote islands. It's really cool, but we're talking hundreds of kilometers, and you have to have so many different skills. Like, I'll ride a mountain bike, I'll hike, but I don't know that I can hike 100 miles and then hop in a kayak and kayak in the middle of the night and for another 65 kilometers and sleep for 2 hours, get up and ride my bike through the mountains for another, I don't even know. Here's some of the distances and things they go. So ocean kayak, 17 kilometers, 3.5 hours. Then a trek with shooting, 20 kilometers, about 7 hours. Mountain bike, 20 kilometers, 1.5 hours. Caving, 0.5 hours, or sorry, 0.5 kilometers, 1 hour. Mountain bike again, 50 kilometers, 4.5 hours. Trek Abseil Canyon, like slash type of thing, 60 kilometers and 23 hours. Kayak slash rafting, 12 kilometers, that's 4 hours. Then lake kayaking, 20 kilometers for 6 hours. Mountain biking again for 105 kilometers, 12.5 hours. And then there's a compulsory stop where you get a 6-hour rest period. Part of that rest period, it sounds like, is getting your stuff, your gear organized and everything. But yeah, you have a mandatory 6-hour break. Then there's a coastal trek for 65 kilometers, another 150 kilometers on the mountain bike, 75 kilometers by kayak with a 12-kilometer portage. Mountain biking 70 kilometers, coast steering. I'm not sure what coast steering is actually. 25 kilometers, and then another mountain bike for 35 kilometers for a total of 700 kilometers and 161 hours over the course of about 7 days. It's insane. That's insane. And so at first I was like, oh yeah, adventure racing. That sounds awesome. No, no, it doesn't. I would love to do, I talked to Nate about this and he wants to do it, but he doesn't understand the distances and times here. So we may do like a mini thing, like on our own, maybe just kind of race each other or something. I haven't figured out how we'll make that work, or maybe I can find a friend who want to race with us. But adventure racing sounds really cool, but it's not for me. Maybe if I were younger, perhaps. I don't know. I feel like 40 is probably too old to be starting to do something like that. But this is a cool book. I do recommend it. It's kind of a fun read. It's very, very educational. Yeah, I'm enjoying this book a lot. And so I probably will pick up the wilderness navigation and be expert with compass and map, something like that. It's got a weird title, but those are kind of the staples of wilderness navigation with the compass and map. But I saw this and I thought this would be a little bit more interesting, a bit more fun read than those. And so yeah, so that's what we're doing. So look for a navigational video to come out soon, sometime after Christmas when the boy opens up his gift, and I'll start teaching him how to use it and everything. And maybe if we have a nice day, he'll let me take him out hiking. I won't call it prepping. We'll call it going on a walk in the park. Yeah, that's what we'll call it. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.